Today, I will make my Grandmaster boyfriend answer to your chess questions. What chess books should you read? How to improve in the fastest way possible? And stick until the end because I will ask him what's the difference between a master and a Grandmaster in chess.
My brain was exploding. I never worked that hard. I was like 22 at this point. In every part of the game, I think I'm excelling while you're pretty good at it. Getting on the right plan is a combination of learning.
Let's get started! Welcome to GM Noel Studer. He is the youngest Swiss Grandmaster with a highest rating of 2582 FIDE. You're a good boy.
That's not true. 2588 highest rating. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Author of my favorite blog for chess improvement, nextlevelchess.blog. How many subscribers do you have to your newsletter?
17,000 people and counting. That's more than the city we live in, actually.
And you know that David Howell is one of your subscribers. I mean, he's the best friend of Magnus Carlsen, just saying. All right.
Who knows if Magnus reads some of them?
Of course. So, the first question is a question that I've got in many different versions many times, and I love it. What is the only chess rule that helps you at chess 90% of the time?
Okay, so this is a difficult question in a sense that there are many rules and principles that should help you most of the time, right? That's the idea of a principle. But if I had to pick one, I would pick play with all your pieces, because most of the time it's good to have more pieces in the attack, or just more pieces that are developed, and more good stuff will happen. You will have more tactical ideas, more strategical ideas. So try to develop all your pieces and see it like in sports, right? In soccer, football for the European like us, you should play with all of the 11 players that you have. You're not going to say, hey, wait a moment, these two guys, they just stand where they are, we don't play with these, and the rest are playing. Then usually bad things happen. So play with all your pieces.
Let's go, I love it. Second question. There are so many questions about chess books. So I will ask you my version and what are the top 5 recommended chess books?
Okay, so I prepared something.
Yes, you prepared.
Let's go. Okay, guys. So I have, to start, I think you can see that. That's the step method, I think they are called. Those are little books. You can see that these are all diagrams. So most of these books are just filled with exercises. But step 1 teaches you some rules as well. And then you go into captures, you go into pins. And then when you move up, it gets harder and harder and harder. And I love the simplicity of these books. And what is very cool is that there is also like a teacher book always coming with it. Okay, so this is like the manual. Yeah, I'm bad at this, guys. I'm a chess grandmaster.
No, it's okay. I also am bad at it.
Okay, so this is the learning chess manual for chess trainers. So this goes with this one. If you just want to train, you buy these. If you want to teach your kid, for example, you can buy this even if you don't know as much about chess and teaching, and you can just read through and you will understand what you're supposed to teach your kid to then be able for them to solve the positions. I love this combination, so it can be good for coaches. For example, at my club when I started with these. And even if the coaches were weaker than the kids already, they could just take the book. Oh yeah, I understand this now. Now I can teach. So
Perfect.
This is super cool, number 1. Number 2, okay, this will be confusing for most of you because this is a very famous book, but the German version.
Deutsch, wir sprechen Deutsch
Exactly.
here.
It's called Tigersprung. This is Jump of the Tiger. In English, the series is called Build Up Your Chess. It's the Yusupov series with, I think now they have 10 different books in it. It's printed by Quality Chess, so if you want to Google it, we can maybe also link it.
We will link everything.
These are very cool because, again, it's a series of books. You start with the first one and it tells you, like it teaches you strategy, tactics, end games, step by step. So it's like in German, they are called Reach 1500, Reach 1800 and Reach 2100, 3 per step. I think one step has 4. And in English, they are just called Build Up Your Chess, Improve Your Chess, something like this. They are always 3 versions as well. Very cool. I worked with Arthur Yusupo for a long time. He's such a nice guy. Probably the nicest coach in chess if we talk about personality. Okay, next one. Chess Structures, a Grandmaster Guide by Mauricio Flores Rios. And now this is a book that, even though it's written by a Grandmaster, just like Yusupov, also is focused on, also lower rated players. This book teaches you the ideas and plans of the most important structures in chess. And that's so nice.
I love this book.
You've worked with it a lot.
This
Actually, I was searching it in our apartment and Alessia had it somewhere in her office because she loves it so much. I think these stickers are also from her. So yeah, this is a very cool book. I enjoyed it as a GM, but I also enjoy it when I teach. I can just go through some, key games. Very, very cool. Okay. This book is called Learn from the Legends, Chess Champions at Their Best. I love this book because it takes away a lot of load when you think about studying classical games. A lot of people think I have to study all these classical games, Fischer, Karpov, Kasparov, all these things. What this book does is, in one single book, it gives you classical games of most of the famous players. And it
like
just
me.
Exactly. Alessia, I am inside there.
You are
Obviously,
inside.
Magnus Carlsen is not in there, so don't worry, guys. You don't have to study games from this dude. So anyway, David, if you watch this, don't tell Magnus, okay? It starts with Rubinstein. It ends actually with Magnus. There is Tal inside, and it focuses on the big strength of each of these champions. So you can study one book, get some classical games in, and then you don't have to study all these Kasparov. If you want, you can, but for improvement, you don't absolutely need to. Okay, next one. Oh, I love simplicity. Sielmann's Complete Endgame Course is the only book on endgames you will ever need, especially if we talk about theoretical endgames. I really love how it's built up. It's one of those books I would love to have written myself. Why? Because it takes you step by step in the endgames. Usually there is a book, for example, called, I think, The 100 Endgames You Must Know, or something like this.
Yeah.
Dude, if you're a beginner, you don't need to know 100 endgames.
True.
Absolutely not. Maybe a GM has to know these 100 endgames. So you don't know how much of it should I study. You're confused, you're overwhelmed. This book tells you, if you're in this rating range from 0 to 1000, study these endgames. Okay, now you're in the rating range 1000 to 1200, study these endgames, and so on. It takes you up to 2200, I think. And it's just amazing. It's super simple. It focuses on what you really need to know. So this amazing, amazing, amazing book.
Last but not least.
Extra mention. These were 5. Now, I have a book that helps you a lot, but it's not chess, okay? Maybe you've heard of it. It's a super bestseller. Atomic Habits by James Clear. I love this book because if you want to improve your chess, you need habits. You need to study consistently. This book tells you how to create habits, how to stick to them, and I love it. When
I also love it.
When you get a habit of really doing the stuff, you will improve. That's it. But you need to know how. So this one.
Amazing. So we are ready for the next question, which is there such a thing as adult chess learning? Or do adults have the same chances as children to become good, like international master or grandmaster, if they invest the same amount of time?
Okay, let's break this down. This is a very important question as well, because there are a lot of adults getting into chess right now. And there's a lot of chess books written for kids. So, especially the beginner stuff was always with the thing in mind, probably it's a kid, right? So it learns quickly and so on. So what is chess improvement? How does it look like? What makes part of it? I would say chess improvement, if you break it down, comes to how quickly you learn. That's one thing that is important, right? So you could put in talent. Then the second part is how much time you put in. If you put in more time, in general, you will improve more. You look very confused, you won't be in a few minutes. Then the third part that we have is what you're actually doing, right? Are you doing these books that I recommend you, or are you doing some random stuff? And then the fourth part is, how are you doing these things? Are you really focused? Do you do the right thing? Do you solve puzzles the right way? All of these things. So if you think about that, many of these things are the same for adults and for kids. What you do, how you do them, you can do that pretty well. Where the difference is coming in is that adults don't learn as fast as kids. So the first part, the learning quicker, kids learn quicker, so it is a bit easier for kids. And then the second part is that usually adults don't have that much time as kids, right? So these are the two biggest factors actually that make kids improve much quicker than adults. But if you focus on, okay, I will create habits so I take time continuously, I will do the right thing, and I will do it the right way. By the way, this is also difficult for adults because sometimes their focus after a long day of work or studying and so on is not as high as a kid's focus. You know, oh, you have 4 hours of school and then you just do some chess, kind of easy. So you need to think as an adult, you need to think like, where can I be maybe smarter even than kids, right? So you really need to focus, only do what really matters. Do it really the right way. So do it with a high intensity. If you solve puzzles, write the solution down. Like all of these things you need to do really well. And that's what I focus on in my teaching in general, because that's where you can make a difference. And then you need to accept that a kid is just going to learn probably quicker than an adult.
Yes, and I love to back it up with science because I've read this amazing book, Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. And basically it says that the difference between a kid and an adult in learning is that, well, one of the differences is that kids have a higher brain plasticity than adults, but adults still have it. And you know what? By subscribing to this channel, you increase your brain plasticity by 50%.
I mean, this was such a big
Subscribe.
scam, subscribe, call or whatever you mean.
Hey, next
that
section.
she couldn't even stay serious. But still
Subscribe.
do it. Come on.
Yes.
It's free. Just click.
Hey, next session.
What next?
Chess openings.
Question.
No, section, because we are talking about chess openings. I've received so many questions about chess openings, and the first one is, what is the best opening for white and black? Let's go.
Okay, guys, you just have to play the grob, and with black you.
Please, serious now.
Okay, this question is, again, there is no real answer to it. If somebody tells you this is the exact best chess opening, either they don't know what they're talking about or they try to sell you their opening course. There are only these two possibilities, because you know there are so many different chess players, and for every player there might be different good openings. If you're a GM, there are different good openings than if you're a beginner, and so on and so forth. But what you can say in general is that, especially if you're, if you don't want to learn tons and tons of opening theory, and if you want to improve your chess, you should play openings where you have a lot of logical moves. I would say those are the best openings to learn. For example, with white you play e4 and you play the Italian game. That's very simple. It's very logical. You can develop all your pieces.
Watch my video, Crush Everyone with the Italian game.
Amazing video, by the way. But when you play, I don't know, something as complex with black, for example, I started with playing the French. I don't like it because the thing is, French is so complex. There are so many complex structures where you have absurd developing moves.
Okay, can you tell me then what openings you recommend as a simplicity for white and black?
Play e4 with white, play the Italian, play open games. So against the Sicilian, you will play with knight f3 and d4, open Sicilian. And with black, you want to play e4, e5 and d4, d5. Those are the two simplest ways of, starting out. And if you want to play d4 with white, you can do that. But it will get, again, strategically more complex.
I like it.
But yeah, that's...
e4.
I would say e4 is definitely the easiest way to start.
Great. I'm a beginner in chess. Is it okay if I learn two openings, one with white and one with black?
Yes, definitely. It's very hard to play the same with white and black, right? You have to play some kind of not so good setup. So let's say you just fianchetto your bishop or whatever, but in general, yes, you always have a repertoire you're playing with white, a repertoire you're playing with black, and you don't want to do too much openings if you're a beginner. So just try to learn some ideas and then you can go.
So there is one question about a specific opening, that is the Ruy Lopez or the Spanish. What do you think? Is this a good opening actually? Is this the best opening for 1400 Elo in chess?
Okay, if you've listened to what I've said 2 minutes ago, you know that I won't say that it's the best opening. Especially also for 1400, I think it's a little bit too complex. I prefer the Italian game because Ruy Lopez, again, there are some structures that are super difficult. There is this one line where black, like on move 10, moves the knight from c6 back to b8 to then go to d7. It's like, wait, everybody taught you that you shouldn't move the same piece, 2 times in the opening, and you just put it back on the starting square. Doesn't really make sense, right? It's so difficult to understand. So if you have these kind of openings, it's a bit too difficult. To start with something simple.
Actually, I started with the Italian game, and then after 1800 ELO, I moved on with the Spanish. So I think this is a very logical way to go. I love, next question. I love playing Gambits and dubious opening in Blitz. Is it very bad for my chess improvement?
So there are Gambits and there are Gambits, There are like, okay, I'm just giving my knight. If they take it and are stupid, I checkmate, otherwise I just lose, right?
Okay, tell me a few Gambits that you think are good Gambits.
Okay, for example, with e4, right, there is this, in the Italian game,
Evans Gambit.
There is the Evans Gambit. That is very interesting because what happens is you're not, objectively doing so badly. You sacrifice a pawn not for a specific plan or idea, not just for a concrete, oh, I hope they always make the same mistake and then I win, but you just generally have the easier development and play. So you can learn something, you get different positions still, and it's something that applies also to chess later on. While there are other Gambits where maybe, as I mentioned, you have one single idea. Your opponent just shouldn't fall for that, and then you always have a worse position and not real, long-term play. So I would say Gambits that focus on long-term initiative, easier play, are also nice. But if it's just to hope for an easy, quick win, then that's a huge problem for your
Do you have a few examples of good Gambits and bad Gambits?
Well, we had the Evans Gambit. What is a bad Gambit? That's like there are so many strange lines. Usually it's by, I'm sorry, streamers and YouTubers, because it makes for good content, right? If it makes for good content.
Gambit.
Stafford Gambit, at least it has also some long-term play, right? But it's on the more dubious side, let's put it this way. But there is this thing, for example, that you would just
Alien Gambit.
Yeah. The more extreme it gets, the worse it is. Like, the quicker you can win thanks to a Gambit, usually. So if you're too tempted by just winning in 10 moves, and if the title of the video where you learn the Gambit from is I win every game in 8 moves, then, well, don't play that Gambit.
Sorry, Gotham. Okay, let's move on. How do GMs prepare an opening? They memorize it or play on ideas?
Sadly, a lot of GMs memorize a lot of stuff. So you have to imagine that when you get the Grandmaster, you have so much knowledge about chess that there are tiny details that will make a difference. And that's why they spend a lot of time on openings, and a lot of GMs also memorize a lot of stuff. I try to always take another route. I try to have ideas and plans. Obviously, I also memorized part of it, but I wouldn't like prepare until 3 in the morning just to remember 25 moves of theory and then next day just smash that theory out. But I wanted to outplay my opponents. But again, it's very important, even if GMs do that, you need to understand that GMs know a lot of stuff already and they won't blunder pieces in general. They just focus on openings because it's the last thing they think they can make a difference in. While for most amateurs, there are so many more important things that you shouldn't spend too much time on opening.
I love it. So, we are approaching my favorite question of this video. It's a very complex one, and remember, stick until the end because I will ask him what's the difference between a Grandmaster and a Master in chess. Be careful what you answer there. So, if you would start from 0 again, how exactly would you train to become a Grandmaster? What books should you read? What puzzles should you do? And how much time to spend for each category?
Whew. Yeah, that's a big one. And again, it's kind of a non-answer because if I would have the perfect plan to go from 0 to GM, I would probably have put it in some kind of book or whatever. So it's very hard to say exactly you need to do this and that.
Okay, step by step.
Exactly. What I can say is what I did and then what I would do a little bit differently. I think that would be a good way to approach the question.
And would you split it per level or make it...
Just a general flow of things, right?
Right.
So when I was starting, I did a lot of these kind of step method books and I just played a lot. And I was lucky enough to have coaches from quite early on. And there I wouldn't change too much from just the very early steps as a kid to, let's say, when I went to 1900. That was also a quite quick development for me personally, because I just invested a lot of time. I was interested in chess and I played a lot and I analyzed all my games. Very, very important.
So you played a lot, analyzed all your games?
Yes, and I got some of the basics from my coaches. So they would tell me a little bit of rook endings, a little bit of strategy, a little bit of this, right? So the little nuances you need to know. Then playing a lot, solving a lot of tactical exercises, watching a lot of games. That was what I did.
Tactics, I guess, also.
Yes, exactly. A lot of exercises, that's
sorry.
tactics. And then I would start to change stuff. So maybe from 1800, 1900, I was a bit chaotic. I didn't have a real plan, so I would just do whatever came up on a given day. I had a coach, but mostly the coach was just once or twice a week, and we would just study randomly something about chess, right? So there I would really start to think like, what openings are really helping me improve. I would not play the French anymore. I would play, difficult openings. Like I would try to force myself to study
maybe.
the Sicilian, to study the Najdorf, to always go for concrete stuff, to have hard positions, because that's how you learn, right? If you go into these difficult ways, then you can learn, because the idea is that you're getting GM, right?
Yes.
So you have to, if you were to plan from 0 to GM, you think what will help me when I'm a GM, so you start by there already, right? You're thinking, oh, the French is probably not the right opening to play as a GM because it starts to get a little bit messy, so let's play the Najdorf, let's play some Sicilian, right? Let's do these things. And then the biggest thing I would change is I wouldn't be as lazy and I would really do hard stuff more often. So only when I got a pro, like when I was 19, I was an IM, I started really to solve really difficult things. I was lazy before, obviously.
Same.
I was happy to, to have quite some talent, to work with some coaches. So if I was in a training camp, I would train. But at home, when I was an IM and I started to solve these books from Agard, for example, it's like, holy cow, that's difficult. Like that's just brain melting. And the more you do of that stuff, the more you improve quicker. So I think with the generation we see today, if we see all of these Kukesh, up to Zatorov, all of these kids that get so quickly GM, I think they're really ready to do real hard stuff. They really sit down and they work hard. And one of the best coaches for young players in the world, maybe the best, is Ramesh from India. And I was in a training camp with him and my brain was exploding. I never worked that hard. I was like 22 at this point. So what I would do is at 10, I would just try to, really work harder, to understand that putting in a lot of effort and solving these difficult positions is really going to help me improve my chess.
Yes, and just to thank you for your presence, I want to let you know that Noel has 2 courses. And one is about how to get to 1200 ELO in chess. It's a beginner course. And so basically, on top of doing exercises, playing game, analyzing them, all you learn through a coach, a bit of endgames, a bit of tactics, a bit of strategy, you can learn through this course. I will also link in the description. Let's go.
Thank you.
And then if you are already over the beginner level and you want to know how to train in chess, what to do, how to improve, he has a free ebook. I will also link in the description. It's called The Art of Chess Training. Let's go. So, another question I've received so many times is about people getting stuck to a certain rating. So, how do you overcome plateau in chess?
Okay, very important. If you're having a long plateau, probably you need to change something. That's step number 1.
Einstein says,
it's actually not from Einstein, but everybody quotes Einstein, like me included. And then somebody told me, hey man, that's not from Einstein. Everybody says it. But yeah, this is that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So that's a quote from somebody. Somebody was the first one to say it, now everybody says it. Okay, so this is very important. You need to change something. If you don't do any training at the moment, well, maybe start with some training. If you're only doing openings at the moment, maybe do something else. So you want to change something. And then one part, again, that is very important is that with most plateaus, I think what happens is that you're having like a improvement phase where everything goes simple. Because you have some talent, you get some logic, and
it's
you just do whatever, exactly, whatever you do, you can do some random stuff and you just get better. You watch some videos, you get better. You just analyze your games, you get better. You maybe even play without analyzing and your rating is rising. But at some point you get stuck. At some point this doesn't work anymore. And now it's time to really do real chess training. So if you want to have a very simple way of starting a real training plan, you do the 1/3 rule. You do a third of your time you play and then you analyze those games. A third of your time you do tactics. Either you learn the tactical motives if you didn't learn them yet, or you just solve tactical exercises. And then the last third you do either openings, middle game, or end game. So if you're staying in this 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, you really do what matters. And then you also want to focus that you're really focused while you train. Because if you're having Netflix on and you're playing another game next to it and you have your earphones on and you talk to your partner and you play a little bit of chess, probably it's not going well, or you train a little bit of chess. So you want to do a little bit only, but very focused. And then this should help you really to break through that plateau.
I love high focus and I love your 1/3 rule, which is invented by him, by the way, because it helps you to make what really matters and to give priority to what makes you improve the most in chess.
Exactly. And just one more thing, like chess improvement is hard. Okay, so if you hit a plateau, expect things to be hard. If you always think chess is going to be easy, you'll always search for this one thing that magically improves your chess, and it doesn't exist. So you need to accept it's probably not that easy, it's going to be hard, but that's what makes it worth it. So you'll be proud of yourself if you do a hard tactical session. You'll be proud of yourself if you play games and you really focus well. And so you can use that also then in other areas of your life. You can do hard stuff. Hard stuff is usually the things that bring you ahead in life. So don't search for the easy way, but accept that it's hard. You can make it simple, but you won't make it easy.
That's amazing. How to think like a GM. We have a new section with lots of questions. We'll start with the first one. What is your thinking process?
Okay, so when I play a game, or when I used to play games, right? I'm retired, I don't play serious chess anymore. My thought process was not that clear. And it's actually for many GMs like this, that once you get into a game, there are a lot of habits, but it's not like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But I think it would be nice to have a clear thought process. It would be nice that, especially when you start or when you're, let's say, below 2000, you want to think, what is my opponent's idea? So when they make a move, you need to realize they are also allowed to play, right? Because usually our brain is like me, but they play a move, so probably they have an idea. What is their idea? Then can I take advantage of their move in any way? Like, is there a free piece? Is there something I can attack? An easy fork, whatever. And then you start thinking about what would be your general plan. And then ideal would be to find a move that avoids the idea from your opponent and enables your own idea. That would be like mastery. And then you wanna, whatever move comes first, you wanna calculate that. And usually, I know you teach this also, that you wanna first calculate checks, captures, and then threats. So you start by, let's say you have a forced checkmate in 3, you don't need to calculate anything else. So you start by this. But the process is really understanding idea of the opponent, then seeing if you have any quick ideas yourself, deeper idea, come up with candidate moves. So you think, okay, I could play this, and that. And then very important, you focus on one move until you finish to calculate that move. And then you assess it, you say, okay, if it's completely winning or checkmate, you can play it. If it's not, then you go to the next one and you assess this one, and then you say, okay, first one was better, second one is much better, probably second one is the one I should play. Okay, so you want to do it this way.
And I have a full video about how to calculate in chess. If you want, you can check out this after this one. If you're also enjoying this video, guys, because I love the wisdom of this Grandmaster, which is also my fiancé.
I don't have gray hair yet.
Like the video if you're enjoying this like me. Okay, how to create the right plan in chess?
Okay, so this is
a very hard question.
Again, like I could just tell you, well, just do X, Y, Z every game, but it doesn't work. Okay, so getting on the right plan is a combination of learning different motives and ideas and principles, and then knowing how to apply that in a game. So what happens in chess, right? Let's say you can learn, that was the chess structures, right? This book right here.
I think
this book will teach you in a position where there is an isolated pawn, okay? You should, in general, if you play against the isolated pawn, trade down pieces, block the isolated pawn, and then attack it and win it. If you have the isolated pawn, you should, in general, try to attack. Don't trade down pieces and search for an attack, because in general, you'll have a little bit more space probably, and your pieces need to play. Okay, so this is general principle. Now you know that. Now, second step is in a position, you need to realize there is an isolated pawn. That would be step number one. And then you need to realize, okay, these principles apply. How can I do that? So you have the direction because of what you studied at home. If you've never studied isolated pawns, you will have no chance to find the right plan, or it's like a lottery, right? So you need to study different positions that happen more often. You need to have basic principles, and then you can start to understand where you should go. And then the tactical part, you need to understand, is the move that would be ideal from a strategical point of view, is it working tactically? You can say, well, I should block the isolated pawn, you play that move, and then you hang a piece. That's not going to work.
So the plan shows you the direction, and then the tactics allow you to pull through the plan in the concrete position.
In general, you say strategy is the planning phase, and tactics is execution, right? So you understand what you should do, and then you understand if you can do it.
Amazing, thank you. How do Grandmasters visualize?
This is very interesting as well, because again, it's not one answer. I've learned from a good friend of mine, actually, Aiden. He has an amazing website, Don't Move Until You See.it. He studies science about brain, about how we learn, about what connections there are, how we visualize, how we conceptualize. And there are different people that visualize differently. There are grandmasters that will see the whole board at all times in front of their eyes. If you've seen the Netflix series Queen's Gambit, right? She is watching at the ceiling, I think, and always sees the board and the pieces move. I don't visualize like that. I see parts of the board, but most of it is, for me, is like, I know where a piece controls which squares, and then it's more verbally that if you tell me queen d4, I can tell you the squares this queen attacks. I don't see the whole board and the queen where it attacks everything, but I understand where it attacks. So if I go through a line, I will tell myself the piece is standing there, and thus it controls these squares. So I will understand what is happening, but I'm not seeing the board in front of me. So very important for you at home, guys. Again, it doesn't have to be one way or another. Again, if somebody teaches you have to visualize like this, probably they don't understand science, because everybody sees things differently. And so that's very important to accept. It's okay if you can't see 5 moves ahead and you don't have the perfect position in your head. You don't have to change that. Maybe you can't.
I also don't have, and because my brain works differently, I'm much more visual as a person. So I imagine the chessboard. So just you need to find your way.
Exactly, and that's why if we talk about squares, for example, you often misspeak the squares. You're saying like knight f3, but instead she means bishop f4. It's just everything is different, but she has
but
it in her mind.
My mind is clear.
It's very obvious in her mind what she verbalizes is wrong. I always verbalize it correctly, but maybe I don't see something, right? So There are different ways, and it's okay. It's important to understand how you learn, because also in school, right? Not everybody learns by seeing something. Some people learn by having it explained. Some people learn by just doing it themselves and then understanding, oh, that's how it feels. That's how it. So there are different ways, and it's okay how you are. Just try to improve the way that you have, and don't think, oh, well, this GM told me I need to see 70 moves ahead, so now I'm stupid if I can't do that, because that's just wrong.
That's so cool. Thank you. How not to get tunnel vision?
I like to work with questions during games. So tunnel vision means, right, you're just focusing on one thing. You're just going for your own idea. I had this one one student, very, very sweet student, but they had a problem. They would only focus on their idea. So let's say we would learn a tactical motive or a checkmate pattern. And they would be so focused on that checkmate pattern in this specific game that they would forget about everything else. The opponent was just eating the whole queen side, but they were like, well, I'm building up this checkmate pattern. Well, that's probably not going to result in a good game, because at some point your opponent will stop it and then you lost a rook and a piece. So you want to ask yourself the question all the time, like, what matters? What is the idea of my opponent? Again, don't get tunnel visioned on your own thing, but ask yourself a question. If you ask yourself these good questions every single game, then you won't get tunnel vision. And one last question I like to ask myself is, before I'm about to make a move, right? You're about to make a move, you think, okay, this move is great. Ask yourself, if I play this move, does my opponent have a very simple way to gain material? Okay, so you might realize you want to play this move, and then you realize, oh, my queen is hanging. Actually, maybe I should play another move. So ask yourself good questions, you won't get tunnel vision.
All right, we're approaching the final 3 sections of this video, and we are at the Grandmaster level. I've got, what is the maximum age you think someone can start playing and go on to become a Grandmaster?
It's 21, 37 days, and 43 hours.
I can't. Oh wait, I started before. Are
That's
you
my
done?
answer.
It's
No.
a joke. It's a joke.
Again, it's very hard to say a specific age. I do believe that you can start as an adult and become still a GM. I do believe that it's possible. 1, it's super hard. 2, it will take a long time. 3, it will take a lot of energy, finances. Finances in a sense of getting good coaches, but also finances in a sense
Like
of
tournaments.
lost opportunities. If you study chess 5 to 6 hours a day, you will work less, you will earn less money. So let's say there is a multi-millionaire or multi-billionaire at 25, very smart, and just says, I have one goal in life, I want to become a Grandmaster. I guess they have a chance of getting that title. But if you're, a father of 3 kids, you need to work 100% to support your family, and you just say, oh, chess is a nice hobby, I don't think you're getting GM. Okay, so it depends on how much time and energy and money you can invest.
I love it. What are the top chess books that have helped you to become a Grandmaster?
Okay, so I talked about how I was an IM, right? And I started working on hard books. There's this book, Calculation, by Jacob Aagaard. It's so freaking hard, okay? It's really hard. Please, if you're anywhere below 2,300 FIDE, don't touch that book. You will just throw it out of your window. You would think you're the most stupid person on earth and you're not made for chess, and you will quit chess, okay? That's basically what nearly happened when I was an IM. So please don't do it to yourself if you're weaker than that. But it was really hard, and it was really good to really calculate the right way. That was one of the books that helped me the most. There is also another book by, I think, Volokitin, who is a Ukrainian strong grandmaster, and his coach, who is called Grabinski.
Level Up Your Chess.
I think it's called Level Up Your Chess. It's the same idea again. Very hard positions. You just need to sit down and to calculate for 15-20 minutes, write down the solutions, and see if you got it and understand what went wrong.
So don't get this book unless you're a masochist.
Masochist or AFAM or IAM, and also a little bit masochist, yes.
Yes. Or David Hommel. So So, have you studied any polymorphic games in your chess journey? I would extend this question to classical games.
Okay. By the way, I just had some
Go.
insight that actually also old Dvoretsky books are very, very interesting if you want to become a GM. Again, super hard. There are some very absurd positions, and I was like, what the heck? Sometimes I didn't even get it once I played through the solution, which is usually the sign that it's really, really hard. But yeah, Dvoretsky books also, if you want to, just suffer a little bit, that's good. Classical games. I did study classical games, but only very few. I have a lot of books of classical games. I have like 30 or something like this, but I didn't study all of them. I played through a few games from the Kasparov books. There are these My Great Predecessors, I think it's called. I think I read the first one and then I gave up somewhere in the middle of the second one. I've read a little bit of Korchnoi because he was a Swiss player, became a Swiss player, was the strongest ever. So yeah, there are a few classical games I've studied, but way less than other Grandmasters, and I don't think it's as necessary as other things.
Yeah, and I like you recommended a book that's for simplicity gets as lots of classical games that are useful. So if you are into it, if you would enjoy, get that book. How does it feel to achieve something that so many people desire?
I'm now the happiest person in the world. You can never do anything to me anymore. No, sadly, that's not the case. Usually with these huge goals, you'll be like very happy for the first 3, 4, 5 days. It's like, yeah, I did it. And then comes a phase where you're like, wait, I'm 20. I just reached the biggest goal of my life. I hope I still live 60 years. What am I doing now?
Getting married to the...
Yeah, but it's like... There is something I call the Grandmaster depression.
Oh.
Because you have this huge goal, you reach it, and then you're like, well, I'm not really feeling happier than before. Before, at least, I had the hope that this will make me happy eternally. But it doesn't. It's just like you get used to it. You're a GM. You're not waking up every morning and like, I'm a Grandmaster. Oh my God.
Levi, just wanting to let you know that it's not gonna change.
No, it's not gonna change happiness, but at least.
But you can flex every day. I'm a Grandmaster.
At least Levi's making money out of it, right? That's the thing. But yeah, it's not. If you don't enjoy the journey, it's definitely not worth it to try to become a GM.
Great. Tournaments. Should I play my first OTB tournament soon, or is it better to wait and improve more online?
If you think you'd enjoy your time, go play that tournament. It's fine if you lose some games, it's completely fine. Everybody has that. Just try to enjoy, try to improve, and then go.
I love it. Easy. How to prepare for tournaments?
By the way, that was my first quick answer. Are you proud of me?
How to prepare for tournaments?
How to prepare for tournaments. Do things that will happen in tournaments. What does that mean? If you play over the board, for example, you want to go to an overboard tournament, try to start training on the board. Because it looks different than the screen, right? So you want to look on that, because sometimes you look on the board, if you study it on the screen all the time, you're like, what happens here?
have that.
I can't see that. It's like...
You can't draw arrows!
3D, you can't touch a piece and then let it go again, and there are many different things. So train what will be the tournament. Train in the speed of the tournament that you will play. So if you play Blitz, train quicker things. If you play classical, start to train your brain like, hey, you can think for 10 or 15 minutes. You don't need to just insta move every move. So do things that will happen in the tournament probably. And you can go through a little bit of openings, but only really what is necessary. Don't overdo it. You will never be ready opening wise. Like you will never ever play a single game of chess and think, I know all the openings I would like to. So just forget about it and train other stuff as well.
Of course, thank you, by the way. Of course, analyzing games is very important, especially games that you play in tournaments, in classical events. How should I learn from my mistakes in my games?
Okay, so very important to analyze them. Very important to focus on the most important, biggest mistakes. especially now with the engine and also with the, I don't know how it's called, game analysis or whatever it's called on chess.com and Lichess, there will be a lot of question mark and dubious move and blunder, question mark. So you can get overwhelmed, like, hey, I'm just doing, on every move I'm doing something wrong, right? What you really have to focus on is like what moves are really deciding the game. You focus on those and you try to improve those. You leave out the rest. You don't need to understand nuances. If the engine says it was +1, now it's +0.5, you don't care about that. That's not a big mistake. So just go over these things, focus on the big ones first. When did I go from +5 to -5? That's a bad move. We wanna, and then to understand, to learn from your mistakes, you need to understand why did I do it. Okay, so not only what would have been better. So let's say you miss that your queen is hanging, right? Now it's very important. Were you in time trouble? That's why you missed it. That's one reason. Were you just looking on your own ideas? Tunnel vision. So you understand, oh, tunnel vision is my problem. Were you saw the attack on the queen, but then you lost your thoughts somehow, and then somehow you played another move? That's another problem. Or you thought that you would threaten checkmate with a move, but you didn't see some kind of defense for your opponent. Then you saw the attack on your queen, you tried to be smart, but you didn't calculate right. So there are so many different ways of making a mistake. You need to understand what was the reason for this mistake, why did I decide on this move, and how can I do better so next time I will understand and play the right move.
Oh, I really love that. Like the video because this is exquisite. Thank you, baby. Okay, last section. I'm about to ask you the difference between me and you in chess. At what point in your life did you realize you had the ability to become a Grandmaster?
So, when I got born, I couldn't think. No, it's just going so long. I can't stay serious all the time.
Just tell me what age, what dates?
Okay, 17, 6 days, 45 minutes.
And now
in the
serious.
morning, I woke up. Okay, I'm sorry. The first time I got in touch with the GM title was when I got a GM norm. So actually, I didn't get an IM norm until I got an IM and a GM norm in the same tournament.
Cool.
I was only 23, 30 at this point. So usually you start, progressing naturally. And I just made a GM norm. That was for sure like, oh, I can
Make it.
I can make that. I think there was not one day where I said, okay, now it's GM time in a way. But another moment where I realized, let's say, I can compete internationally, and this gave me a lot of boost, is when in the under 18 World Championship, I played on board 1 in the last round, and I still had a chance to become a world champion, at least a theoretical chance. And I ended up 5th, but the same amount of points. I lost this game. I declined the draw, which would have been 3rd, so I could have taken a medal. And just understanding like, oh my God, I can, at the World Championship, the small Swiss guy can compete with these guys, was very, very important for me to just go forward and become a pro, but just in general understand like, hey, I'm so much stronger than many people in Switzerland think, and that I myself sometimes think, so I can get there.
And you did it.
And I did it.
Let's go. How to play chess without being addicted to it is a student.
I would set myself limits. So addiction, I've read a very interesting book about addiction. It's called Dopamine Nation. Check it out if you're interested. Addiction is just, I think the definition is somewhere along like doing something that is harmful to you, but still doing it. Like it's something, it can be that it's good, chess is good for you if you do it 2 hours a day, but the 3rd and the 4th hour is bad because you don't spend time on your study. That means you're addicted, right? You neglect other things that are more important just because you do chess. So in this case, I would try to set myself rules like I can study an hour chess, or if you're studying and you always play chess first and then forget about your studies, then you say, hey, I first do my studies, and then if I finished all the tasks that I want to do for today, I can play chess. So you think about what things is chess taking away from, and then you set boundaries to do that. If it's sleep, for example, you say no chess after 9 p.m. or whatever. So you try to come up with rules that make it easier, because if it's just like, yeah, I feel like playing chess, so I play chess, then it can get out of hand.
And I know that many people try to set up rules, but then they don't follow them. But without any dose of discipline, you can't. There is no way to not being addicted to something. I lost the word. So discipline is important. You gotta have a bit of discipline to do anything in life.
Yeah.
How do you handle stress?
That's also a very good question. Something I worked on for a long time. I worked with a sports psychologist. There are ways, for example, you can meditate. Meditation can be very nice to handle stress. I don't do it as often now anymore, but when I was playing actively, try to meditate. Try to write down. For me, writing down is very important. So whatever stresses me, if I put it on paper, I can calm down a little bit. Sometimes just taking deep breath can be very good for handling stress. Like, I feel so at peace. Yeah, so there are different techniques for handling stress, and maybe the most important thing for me was understanding that results aren't as important as I think they are. So if you're focusing all the time on I have to win, I have to win, I have to win, then the stress will build up.
Yeah.
Because you can't control it. You can't control if your opponent plays well, right? So if the result is the only thing to make you happy, then you will be stressed all the time, because you think, well, if I don't win this game, then I'll be unhappy. So understand that the results aren't as important as you think. Focus on the process, try to give your best, but then accept whatever result is coming, and this can also take a lot of stress away.
That's very nice. Focus on what you can control, they say the Stoics.
Yes.
So, we are at the end of the video. They ask, what's the difference between a good and a strong player? But what I want you to say, what's the difference between you and me in chess? Be careful.
Guys. Okay.
Let me remove this end just in case.
Yeah, just, that was a bit threatening. So the difference between a grandmaster and a master, or between us, is that in every part of the game, I think I'm excelling while you're pretty good at it.
Yes,
So
I agree.
in general, there is not, you can't say like, oh, I can calculate 7 moves and you can only calculate 5 or whatever. This is difficult. But in general,
Because I can calculate 50, guys, no problem.
Easy. I make less mistakes in tactics. I make less mistakes in strategical positions. I have a better opening repertoire. I probably know more end games. It's just everything. Then it depends which kind of player. For example, I would say that strategically I'm better than my rating, and tactically I'm worse than my rating. So tactically we're closer than the normal gap between a master and a grandmaster. But strategically, probably the gap is bigger, so then it depends on the players.
All right, thank you so much for joining. If you guys want to see the difference between Noel and me in practice, we did a video about this, where we had to solve some chess positions, and you can see how I think, how he thinks. Of course, mine is better.
Easy. It was very structured, logical, just perfect.
Hey, see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.